closer to Christ. We pray for our parish that we will not just have the numbers that we have now, but also quality. That all of us, when our time on earth is over, that we can all enjoy a lasting life, ourselves, our families. We pray for the members of our families who are far from you, that they can come back. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. I also want to pray for God to say many parishioners are sick, but also pray for this time of transition, that with the President Cyril Ramaphosa, that there can be better times, more jobs, we can look to a better future. We ask this to Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Yeah, and I'll just let the bishop continue on. Just make my announcement here that the process for building a hall has been very slow. We've been working for 3 years. And the people down the street are building a 3-floor building. What do they call that? This boat reef gets out without any permission. All of a sudden, sometimes we should just build. And afterwards, give this small money and get our thing going. Anyway, we're trying to get every single permission. So that's why it's taken 3 years and we're still about 4 months away. All right. So come up with the questions. Well, yes, bring water. I didn't have a table. I should have had a table. Very good. Okay, so let's just start, and then you can raise your hand for questions. Pam is coming in, I see.
Don't be afraid to purchase something.
Say a few words of reading, and then we can start with something. Yes.
I have a stage fright.
No, I always yeah.
Thank you for having me.
That's it.
That's about
Okay. Does anyone want to come up with some questions?
That's about it.
Call it.
Father, this is a personal question, if you don't mind.
Not to me, but to the party.
Yeah, no. Bishop, when did you first know you had according to the priesthood?
Probably this was just when I was completing primary school. This was in Mutlakeng in Randfontein, not Mutlakeng actually, the township was destroyed in 1954. Probably because of the parish priest. We used to hang around the parish, like on Saturday, on weekends, doing chores, and it's really associated. And there were 2 Ursuline nuns there. I wasn't doing well in religion, probably not paying quite a lot of attention until the sister said to me, "Why are you so lazy?" I guess since then I sort of kind of opened my eyes and became hanging around the parish, being influenced by the parish priest, and I said to him, I think I'd like to go to the seminary. And he says, "Oh, we'll see." And the rest is history.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
Okay, Grace was almost scared to actually talk. But maybe you can actually just give us more insight and feedback on the shrine and your thinking behind the shrine, the funds, what is needed for it. Because like we said at ABC level, we come to the parishioners, we ask them for money, you telling us to go back, we come back, we tell them. They give us a hard time. So you here now, you can give them a hard time, but they can give you a hard time. Instead of giving me a hard time all the time.
The practical thing, there's a shrine or grotto in every diocese. I worked in Bloemfontein for a number of years, and we have a shrine in Tabanchu. So every year the entire diocese would go there to the shrine. In Natal, they've long been doing this at the Njungweni, and then And then now we have Ngoma where people go all the time, and then Kavela. Kavela's been there for years. They are the more famous areas where people go. But most of the dioceses have a shrine where they gather every year for specific functions, or Feast of Our Lady, etc. Now, for some time I wondered in Johannesburg why we don't have something like that. Probably what really pushed me was when we went on World Youth Day in Rio de Janeiro. We first went to Aparecida, the great shrine there. Suddenly it became alive. I mean, I had never seen so many people, so many people every day going into the shrine. It was this public witnessing of Catholics coming together from all parts of the world, a whole cloud of witnesses that swept me off my feet. And I said to Our Lady, you know what? I'm going back home. We're not trying to compete with Aparecida or these major other places. We're just going to try and do a diocesan shrine so that people can come together and be witnesses to each other about their faith. Often we see that at the parish level, witnesses, but it's also good to see many people from other parts of, in this case, the entire diocese. But it's also good when you go to these shrines and see people from all over the world. I have seen in Lourdes, a major shrine over the years of people who are ill. And you can almost read their faith on their faces. I don't think everybody necessarily expects a miracle to happen, but their faith, being amidst people of faith, then you realize that, gee, I have such a little faith, that they really influence the way you see things. So Aparecida had that effect on me, and I made a promise that come rain or snow, we're going to build one. We're going to build one to Mary. And then you begin to realize that almost every year, once you go on these pilgrimages, there are so many South Africans who go on pilgrimage to Medjugorje, to Knockin Island, to Lourdes, to Fatima. Every year there are people going there. But we never share the kind of faith that motivates them to spend money to go that far. So that also told me that there's a strong tradition of venerating Our Lady, of praying through her. And that we needed to bring that to the fore so that the rest of us who don't see these things should enjoy the faith of those who are deeply, deeply touched by the role of Our Lady in the history of our salvation. So I said, that we will do. We will do like everybody else who has a shrine. Johannesburg is the biggest diocese in South Africa. We don't know exactly how many we are here. Theoretically, we should be just below 1 million Catholics in Johannesburg, because the rest of the country and the rural dioceses, etc. Johannesburg is probably the biggest center of Catholics here. And there's no reason why you can't bring all those Catholics together once in a while to come and pray together. That's really the reason. And also, what we tried to do, for example, last year was to, every month we try to write a pastoral letter about Mary. We're still continuing to do so, about Mary. And hopefully, I'm not sure how we communicated. We thought we would do it through the unviews, but I see sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, sometimes they summarize it very badly. Nonetheless, that was partly to try and motivate reflection on Our Lady and her role. The belief is also that the closer you come to the Mother of Jesus, the closer you get to Christ. So that's really the motive why we would like to have a shrine in the diocese. We bought the property next to, for those who have not been to Magliesberg, it's the same road as the Grace Hotel or the Old Boys Town's place. We bought that property because it was being sold. I had originally suggested that we buy a shed with a valve dam with water, and I thought water would be always, water has a calming effect, it encourages meditation, etc. But then there was no infrastructure at all, no roads, no electricity, no what, so I didn't get enough support for that. And Magliesberg seemed to have been an ideal place. And so that's where we would like to build. We've raised to date 12.5 million rand, probably 12,800,000 rand to date. We're still short of 6.5 million. 6.5 million. We've probably done most of these council things like environmental impact or what else they want, stormwater thing, traffic. We've done all those things. We had a little problem there in terms of the road. If you know how Magliesberg looks like, in the town of Magliesberg there's a garage. There's a road just behind that garage that goes right up to the hotel. We negotiated with the hotel that they say, well, you can have a servitude, provided you broaden the road and tar the road. And the quotation was just impossible. I thought, at first they said it's going to 1.8 million. Then I had several millions on top of that afterwards. I said, Father Charles, who is the rector there, whom we've asked to be the rector there, they suggested that there's another plot that's on sale, just next to that road that goes to Rustenburg, just before you actually drive into the property of the shrine, a little bridge there. That property is on sale. So we were saying, why don't we buy this property? Instead of paying 1.8 million to do the road, why don't we simply buy the property for 3 million? Which we really don't need, because the land we have is sufficient for parking and for everything else. But in terms of buses, the descent is very steep. So we've always, and then the road, the cars coming from Rustenburg, the curve is very sharp. And in fact, you can't come from the Rustenburg way and then turn into the shrine. It's so sharp that it's just dangerous. So with buses and accidents around the country, we thought the wisest thing is to buy this property, which is next to the road, and simply park there, at least the buses. Hopefully, as time goes on, like the first time we went for a sword turning, there were probably more than 3,000 people there with about 10, 12 buses. So it would create a problem in future. I think that's about it. Hopefully we will buy that land for parking. It will reduce the amount of money we've raised to date. But then raising money is much more slower this time around. Last year, money was easier to raise because the parishes were involved. We asked money from the parishes. Now we can't go back to the parishes. I mean, they've given us what they could give us. So we've got to find other means of raising money. So we have a fundraising committee that meets every month, and they are doing merchandise to try and sell these things with the logo of the shrine, to try and raise those. And concert, I think we'll have a concert. Recently they had a gala dinner. So that's how we're going to be trying to raise money. Now that you've invited me here and raised the question of the shrine, I think we're in trouble.
Great, thanks for coming to speak to all of us. One question that I was thinking, or something that I thought about, was I spoke to a lot of parishioners, not only in our parish but other parishes as well. The sense of feeling I got was that the money is coming in slow now, as you said. Don't you think, or shouldn't thinking go around starting off with a project, so that people around Johannesburg can see there's something that's happening. This way, I think, if something like that happens, people will start.
Okay. Yes, some people have said that to me. Our original target was 25 million. Now we've reduced the target to 19 million. We are going to be building a multi-purpose hall that will accommodate inside 2,000 people, and when the doors are open, it will go up to 3,000 people. And now some people already said, my father was telling me the other day that's going to be too small. Just judging by the number of people who were there 2 weeks ago, that this is already too small. I mean, when they fill the open space, you can see that the numbers are far bigger than the building that's going to be put there. I don't know what to do with that. So we were going to build a multi-purpose hall, and then a toilet block, and then a chapel on the hill, and then a grotto next to it. And then parking. So those really were the items which we intended putting up. Now, I realize that we'll never make the 25 million, at least not now. So why don't we build a multi-purpose hall? Some wanted us to build a chapel first. A chapel will cost us or a church will cost us about 4 million. Then I said to myself, and then we still have to build a toilet block for 1.5 million. And I said, if we did that, it was going to take us longer to raise the money to build a multi-purpose hall. So I said, let's build a multi-purpose hall, because most people, if we go there, will be under a roof. 3,000 people, on average, will be under a roof. And then build a toilet block. The rest we can, a chapel we don't have to build overnight. The other little fences they have, the architect has in mind about the place, but we said, those can wait. In fact, my intention is once we build a multi-purpose hall, this is no longer a diocesan project. It will be a project of Magliesberg Shrine. They have to grow very fast to be adults and have their own show. But, so we thought the multi-purpose hall would be more visible, and people can see where their money is. For now, on the Ed News, you can see always on the first page, they actually record the amount of monies raised to date. I don't know, the idea is as soon as we go, okay, we are waiting for rezoning, and rezoning takes 18 months, so they've given us a date of July next year. I'm told it's a heritage site, so we still need to go to the heritage people to ask for their approval for a certificate. So it doesn't seem as if we will start building this year. The ambition was to try and do it the second part of this year, but I don't think so. We will not have raised. If we raised, I'm saying, we're short of 6 million roughly. If we raised 4 million, then I will say we're going ahead to build. Because then we can take a loan of 2 million from the diocese. Beyond that, I don't think it will be reasonable to ask for a loan which we can't afford to repay. We're not a parish, we're just a group of people. It will be very difficult to convince the finance people to give us a loan. So in fact, I've told them they shouldn't have sleepless nights. We won't ask for their loan, but I know we need it. We'll need it. So that's the idea, to build one thing, the multi-purpose hall, which people will see and say, has their money been well used or not?
Your Grace, as I spoke to you, so you know, first, I do study little things about countries that I go to in diocese. When I was studying way back, 15 years ago, Marian Hill was the most Catholic diocese in the country. No, it's okay. Marian Hill was the most Catholic diocese in the country. But in the last 15 years, because of an influx of Congolese, Nigerians, people from Kenya, we even have people from Ghana, people from Rwanda, all the other African countries, okay, Zim, etc., Mozambique, other places, Malawi, we have many Catholics coming in. And so now we are #1 in percentage-wise. But if you go back 30 years ago, it might have been 5%. So it has really, not only because of RCIA, but a lot of also influx of Catholics. All right. And from my own experience in Nigeria, we used to go once a year. Well, they had other pilgrimages. But once a year, every parish in the diocese was to go to the shrine up in the mountains. And I think we were maybe 10,000. And priests would be hearing confession. Oh man, long. To my ear was falling off hearing confessions. And the only place that was covered was where the priests were under the altar. They had a concrete and a cover. The rest of us were out in the open. But they always chose the big gate during the dry season. But anyway, I'm not saying to do that. But what I am thinking, when I had gone to Magliesberg a couple times, but I hadn't gone to see how many people are coming. And this past time, I don't know, I can't really give you exact, but I think we were close to 6, maybe even a little bit more than that, 1,000 a day. Okay, so the whole ground is Swedish, is covered. Then under the trees, they just kept going up, because I was climbing to get communion up under those trees, climbing. Okay, so you have this, if you've been seeing the place, it's like a football field. The main place where this hall for 2,000 will be built, which opens the door and adds more. That is the main field. And then right up, you go up the hill. And I mean, it goes up a mountain. But it's beautiful for an amphitheater. With a little bit of bulldozing, you can have the altar here, and every step will be a slight step up. So everyone can see. If I was the Archbishop, which I'll never be, but if I was, I would think twice about, let's look at something like seating 10 or 12,000. Because if I build this little hall seating 2,000 inside and another car, and then after 2 years, people are like, who's the man who built this thing? It's way too small. Did they ever do any idea how many people are coming? Because we saw the numbers, and I'm telling you, and more people are coming. More and more. The diocese is growing everywhere. I really think in 3 or 4 years' time, you will have 10, 11, 12,000 coming for a yearly pilgrimage for whatever event the Archbishop calls. I'm not talking about the small monthly pilgrimage, but when we call the yearly one and we ask everyone. Now, that's when I was thinking, perfect site, because I've seen so many of these amphitheaters, concrete step. You don't have to have perfect tile. You can just have cement, smooth cement, boom. And then we have to put some kind of retractable stuff over the top to keep the sun off the people. Because, you don't want, the worst thing is everyone has an umbrella, and you can't see in front of you because of a big umbrella. But if you have a nice retractable roof of some sort. Anyway, just my idea. I really think, Archbishop, that this place, that shrine is going to take off. And people are going to say, wow. But then they're going to also say, who built this small place for the whole Archdiocese? I mean, we understand if we were in a small little place, You're in a tuba. We're in a tuba, we can build something like that.
Please.
Father, this is addressed to you as well. If you get those amount of people there, is the infrastructure around the Magliesberg sufficient to deal with the roads, the parking?
Well, that kind of event is not going to be an event every day. Once a year we have a massive group coming in, and we have to tell the people we're having this big yearly event. The regular monthly events are smaller, but a big yearly event once a year, it will be a little bit, it wasn't too bad when we were 6,000 coming in. It wasn't too bad. It was handled fairly good.
Grace, tell me, would that shrine also be available for hire, for commercial use, to raise funds also for the shrine, for further development?
Yes, we're also hoping that it becomes a pastoral center where people go on retreats, conferences. That's the idea. Otherwise, it will be idle there and waste a lot of. It has to maintain itself, and it can only do so by being hired out to other people to use. And that's why it's a multi-purpose hall, as opposed to the little chapel you want to build on the hill. So yes, it will be open to being used by. In time, I guess people would also like to. There's accommodation there. People who've been going there for a conference, for a retreat, for example, they've been able to accommodate 126 people, which means that in sharing rooms. But I think down the road, we'll probably have to build a block for an accommodation block if people are going to use the place over a weekend. Yes, it's envisaged that with the retreats and conferences, the place will be able to maintain itself.
This is not a new question, you've heard it, but one of our parishioners just got an annulment, Lynette, over 3 years, about 3.5 years to get her annulment. She was really frustrated if it ever was going to come. It finally came. So in line with our Pope Francis, he's really asking, we have so many parishioners, I don't want to put out names and I don't even want to know, but we have people who come who are remarried and come into communion and they just, it's my conscience before God, as they say. And I said, wait a minute, no, it's not just so easy like that. So anyway, I'm just trying to say, the annulment procedures are quite slow. I know maybe because of lack of judges or whatever, but if you could just address a little bit there.
I'm not sure how many cases are outstanding. I thought we were probably just a rough guess looking at the list in my mind, probably around 18, 20 outstanding cases that have not yet been resolved.
And when people hear that it's a 3-year process, they're afraid. They say, "Eesh."
Well, the Pope says it should take 1 day. I think it's a little bit unrealistic, but it's a bit unrealistic to take 1 day. You've got to get witnesses. The good thing about it is, once you, let me go a step behind. Now, in terms of marriage and divorces, usually from my experience, little experience, people marry for 2-3 years and divorce. On average, that also take 10 years, 15 years, but on average, people divorce after between 3 and 5 years they divorce. And then you have a child normally. It's rare that you actually don't find that the couple does not have a child. They have a child or two. What then happens is they then stay away from the sacraments, but usually that shouldn't be the case for the couple. It should be the case of the person who divorced and remarried. They now go to the commissioner to remarry. Other couples would, for example, what this does to the wife is that he stays or probably gets married again, does not go to communion because of the second marriage. In the second marriage, they stay for 20 years on average, 15 to 20 years, and then they come to the church to rectify their marriage or to confirm their marriage in the church and to annul the first marriage that took place 20 years ago. Now, I think what the Pope is saying, or perhaps I'm putting words in his mouth, let me just speak for myself and not for the Pope. If people were informed about this, I think once you have divorce somebody after 3 years, it is good to get an annulment. You know that you're not going to go back to that marriage, the first one. So instead of just doing nothing about it, get an annulment for what it's worth in your 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th year, and not in your 20th year. So people who then come and complain about their cases being delayed, you find that they've been together for more than 18, 15 years. These are not young people. I often joke and say, I think they can smell the grave in the neighborhood, so that's why they want to sort out things, you know. So those things can be sorted out in your, as I say, in your 5th, 6th, 7th year, whether you are remarried or not remarried. What the Pope is saying about marriage annulment is that it should take place theoretically in a day. You gather your witnesses together, you interview them, interview the couple. Usually it's the husband who, because he's married to another wife, he's no longer interested in the first wife and the affairs of the first wife. So usually they say they are not interested, they don't come. The Pope is saying, if somebody who has been married, we're talking about a second marriage here, who has been in a second marriage for 10, 20, 15, 20 years, that marriage surely is, okay, you shouldn't accuse me here about my dynamics, but I'm going to say, surely that marriage is more valid than that three-year first marriage. Does this make sense? The likelihood of them divorcing after 20 or 15 years of marriage is nil. It's very little. The likelihood of the second marriage being dissolved is very, it might happen, but generally when people have stayed that long with their children being already adults, chances are that they are not likely to divorce. And if the husband does not come to give evidence, forget about him. Forget about him. Here is somebody, a Catholic, who wants to receive communion, who wants to rectify a relationship with the church. Surely you should take that as being something credible and worth paying attention to, as opposed to somebody who refuses to come and help resolve this problem. And so that's why he says it can be resolved in a day. And then he says on top of that, there should be no payment. And I said, the Pope is thinking, it's not possible. I mean, somebody has to do the typing of this report, they've got to be submitted to Rome. So there's a little bit of work involved and somebody has to pay for it. But that's, so we are saying here at the diocese, there's also a question where he says that the bishop, traditionally there is a marriage tribunal. There's somebody who, the defender of the, somebody who does the inquiry, the investigation, and then there's a panel where the witnesses come and say what happened to this marriage, people who know the couple. And then there's what they call a defender of the bond. Somebody says, no, you should have stayed, you should stay married, etc., etc. So that tends to take long. And then you do a report and submit it to a second court. Like we submit ours, our findings, we then submit them to the Diocese of Pretoria. They look at it to see whether it's valid, and then we submit the case to Rome. The Pope is saying the bishop can actually sit in, listen to the case, listen to witnesses, and make a decision at the end of the day. Now, we avoid that because we stand a better chance when there are more people investigating a case. Otherwise, we're going to be having a case, and then we become sympathetic and say, no, that's okay, we will annul the marriage. And one of the problems in annulling marriages, the issue Rome always raises with us, they oppose some of our submissions to them, grounds for divorce, intention. When we always say, no, we don't think this couple or this person in the marriage had the right intention, had the intention of staying permanently with this partner, etc., etc. And Rome disputes that. They always say, you are being too sympathetic when you say there was no intention of marriage. Because you can actually find out, and then the Pope says something funny. He says, most marriages are invalid. Based on this question of intention. That we have such a high rate of divorce simply because the intention was never there. There was no commitment. Especially if your marriages break down after 2 or 3 years. But this shouldn't happen. This shouldn't happen. It's too short a time. But that's precisely because there was no intention to stay permanently in that marriage. But yeah. We try, I have said that the cases that are there, they must be considered, they must be pushed, they must be done, because people who take the trouble to look for an annulment, it means they want it annulled. They want to go back to the sacrament and not to be feeling guilty about their past. So we're trying to say, yes, this should be done as quickly as we can. As I say, as a bishop, I could say, let me look at it, let me do, but let me give myself extra job, and I think that's what I should avoid at all costs. Yeah, but where a couple, for example, both the man, the husband and the wife, want to be separated, then, and they both agree to that, then usually there's no problem there. The problem is always in a situation where one of the couple says, no, we should stay in this marriage, and the other one is virtually out of the marriage. That's where the problem is. But not when both of them are agreed that they should go separate ways. Then that's easy to resolve.
I'm representing the family care group, and one of the questions that come up in our meetings is the fact that our youngsters are leaving the church, mainly because we want to preach to them about birth control. So they either leave the church because they want to be living together instead of getting married, and the issue of the birth control. So if you can just give us some more clarity on the issue of the birth control, is there any way forward to that? Any other solutions that would ease out?
No, I don't. That's a question Pro could answer better than myself, frankly. I don't know. I think that's going to always be a thorny question. There are two schools of thought in the Catholic Church. There are those who firmly believe in Humanae Vitae. This was a document written by Pope Paul VI on marriage, and on contraceptives, the use of contraceptives, etc. So that's the traditional position of the Church. It was reinforced by Pope John Paul in his encyclical Evangelium Vitae, the Gospel of Life. It was virtually stating what Pope Paul VI had said years ago. Pope Francis, on the other hand, he is currently being attacked by some bishops who are saying that he is liberalizing all these things and sweeping them under the carpet, so that in the name of mercy, that we should be merciful to human beings. Now, that's not exactly answering your question, but listen to this. Some would say, if you have murdered somebody and you go to prison for murder, you come out of prison and then you go to communion. Or in fact, they give you communion in jail. And if you just use a contraceptive to protect yourself for an unwanted pregnancy, against an unwanted pregnancy, then you can't go, you are a sinner. And so we're being asked about what's the criteria? Is our criteria fair and just, or is it because we're preoccupied with the bedroom? So church leaders are preoccupied with the bedroom issues, and they should leave that to couples. You can't leave those to couples. Couples will mess themselves up. You've got to help them out. You've got to help them out. So no, I don't think there's any change basically on that issue. It will always be a thorny issue. The issue of birth control, the issue of, and I don't think any of, even Pope Francis hasn't actually spelled it out. What he has spelled out is more about our attitude towards people, and not to be condemning people for these things, and to be merciful. Now, those who criticize him have interpreted this as being liberal, and therefore meaning you can do these things and you will be forgiven. But that's not really I don't think the church has changed its position on that, where we are.
Your Grace, in the Archdiocese, all the priests don't seem to be consistent in being sympathetic towards couples that are not married. They may come from a Catholic and a non-Catholic faith, or Christian faith or non-Christian. And the baby example, the priest will refuse to have the baby baptized. And that's not been consistent or, with the sympathy that the Pope is trying to preach out to all. And one of the avenues is to enter into maybe an RCIA group and fully become Catholic. What's your view on some priests not being consistent and other priests saying and welcoming those couples?
Why would they refuse to baptize a child?
I'm not too sure on that answer, but some priests just simply refuse, from my knowledge that I have.
Can somebody answer this question? Does anybody know why? Any experience? I'm surprised. I don't expect the priest to refuse to baptize a child. I don't expect that at all. I mean, a child is a child. You can't always blame parents. You can't always use your war with parents and victimize the child.
I happen to be being chairperson of the communications group, and that sort of communication comes to me also. So that's why I'm aware of that.
Okay, we will raise it for John.
From my legal experience, I would say one occasion where I would personally refuse a baptism of that sort is, because you know the parents are not practicing Catholics.
Oh,
one parent is baptized when that parent was a child, has been not practicing, not living the faith. Well, the partner is also not a Catholic, they are not properly married. But now, because the grandparents of the child want child to be baptized, these parents say, no, we want our child to be baptized, otherwise child will be lost.
Okay, I think
my pastoral approach was there, no, first you need to be on the path of salvation. You don't put the church in the church and say, no, we are standing outside, that the child go to heaven. You need to go to heaven together with the child.
I would agree with Father Joy in principle, but not in practice. One of the first people I met in West Africa 40 years ago, her name was Antoinette Ashker, Lebanese. And so she came to the church to baptize her baby girl. And me coming out of school just recently and looking, okay, fine, you are Catholic? Yes. And your husband Catholic? Yes. I haven't seen you in church, although I've only been here 6 months. Well, we haven't been to church this year, Father. When was the last time? We came at Christmas. It would be nice if we're going to go with this, who's going to raise his child in the faith? Because if you're only coming once a year, who's going to bring this child up? We're baptizing this child, what, for juju or what? We're baptizing this child to be raised in the faith, to come to church. So, if you can make a commitment, and this woman made a commitment, and I'm telling you, because I left that parish long ago, she became one of the strongest members of that parish. So what I'm only saying is that your approach to them can either push them further or bring them closer. This is the chance for the priest. I always talk, I don't expect both sides, but I always talk about, you're not married. You have a child. Please don't go and have another child in your situation. Let's look at marriage. It's a chance to, the pastoral sense to bring them together. Say, you don't need money to get married. So many Africans think, I need to get money to get married. So it's a chance also to bring them closer. This woman, Antoinette Ashker, Lebanese Catholic, became the strongest. She took care of the flowers. She took care of this. She wanted to cook for the priest. She wanted to do everything. I said, hey, it's enough. Just take care of the flowers, that's enough. But anyway, so I'm just saying, yes, these are problems, but if you do a pastoral approach, many times they'll come forward.
Yeah, I support that. I guess both positions make sense. In other words, you are saying, look, you just can't get baptized and then disappear. It doesn't make sense. Somebody has to bring the child up in the Catholic faith. And it's not always good to do things in the name of the grandmother. The parents should take their own responsibility. But it is also good not to just baptizing people just become the They come. For one reason, some people are like that. I was baptized, I want my child to be baptized, but I don't go to church. So it's not worth it. It's really not respecting the church either. But on the other hand, it might be just a moment of conversion. It might just be a moment of grace that they've come to talk to the priest, and that might just be the occasion for the priest, to challenge them a little bit about their responsibility as parents as far as the church is concerned. It might just be a moment of grace. So it all depends on, in a sense, Pope Francis is saying to us that whatever we do in our pastoral ministry, there has to be a huge dose of compassion. That's the message he consistently, at least since he's been there, is pumping out. We must have, whatever reasons we may have, we should, at the base of it all, have an attitude of mercy in whatever people are doing, and hopefully we might be able to win them over.
What about couples that can't have children and they would like to have children, and is the medical field that offers IVF, vitro fertilization, is church opposed to it?
Yes. The question of infertility has always been a huge question in the church. You can think about Sarah in the Old Testament, you can think about Elkanah, you can think about Rachel, you can think about the wife, the mother of Samson. They are given as example of women who are infertile and who Rachel prayed he said to the husband, please give me a child, or else I will die. I think those stories summarize the attitudes of women throughout the ages who are unable to give birth. In the modern world, societies, they use, as you say, fertilization in vitro. There are two types, where they get either a sperm or an ovum from a donor, or using the sperm of the couple themselves outside the conjugal act of marriage. So the church is opposed to both of them. The Catholic Catechism says both of them are morally unacceptable. Both of them. In other words, either from a donor, from a sperm bank, or from the couple themselves, because they disassociate the act of giving birth from the conjugal act, from love-making. They disassociate that from love-making. Therefore, this is unnatural and therefore unacceptable. That's the attitude of the church currently. I don't know. People go to great lengths. They pay a lot of money to do that. That's very common in America. That's very common in Europe. In Africa, where they don't have that kind of money, people go to traditional healers. They go to traditional healers who give them. For example, here, if you go to a traditional healer, they will use as part of their medicine a pawpaw. The simple reason they use a pawpaw as part of the medicine is association. The seeds or the stones of a pawpaw are so many. They symbolize children, fertility. And therefore you use that, associating it with what you desire to have, as it's magical thinking at the base of it all. It's magical thinking, but the point, seen this being done in Zambia. There's a tree called the mukula tree. This tree exudes a red gum. Now that red gum, and it coagulates very quickly, that red gum. They use that as part of the medicine because the belief is that it will help coagulate the blood around the fetus, and then you will be able to become pregnant. That's what they do. That's what traditional healers do. Well, I haven't come across people who say, I have been healed because of this traditional healing. I haven't. I still wish to come across people who say, look, this has worked for me. Then if it has worked, there must have been a block in the mind. There must have been a blockage in the mind that did not allow you to give birth. But yes, the church still holds the position of the Catholic Catechism.
Your Eminence, you're welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Uchenna. I'm a member of the Knight of Dagama. Your Eminence, I have two questions. One of them would be about the movie called Corpus Christi. It's not yet here in Africa, but it's been aired in America and Europe. And I'm one of the people that have signed the petition that it shouldn't come to Africa. I don't know if you know about the movie and its contents and what the church is talking about it, or the response of the Catholic Church about that movie, Corpus Christi. That's my first question.
Okay, no, I haven't heard about it.
The Corpus Christi.
Yeah, what is the objection about it?
It's a movie about Jesus Christ being a gay.
Being a?
Gay.
Gay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of petitions around it. They're looking for 1 million signatures for the movie not to enter Africa. So like talking about the way Africans see the church and the way the Western church, Western world see the church is not actually the same, especially from Nigeria. That's why I have the form to sign that petition. So Father John, I also send you the petition. I send it to you. So that is one of my questions. My second question would be the chancery. I was there at the opening of the chancery. We benefit much, we from Nigerians, we benefit much from the multi-purpose hall there, talking of the new multi-purpose halls you want to build. But I want to ask you about the management of that multi-purpose hall at the cathedral and the people managing it, because there's a lot of stories about the management and the prices they charge the public relating to that particular property. Thank you.
Okay, what about the management of the facility, the cathedral place, the halls? They actually fall under the cathedral, and they use that as part of their income. There was a marriage there recently, and we received a complaint about the place being dilapidated, the toilets not working well, people who are roaming around us going into the hall and helping themselves to people's food, things like that. So we asked the administrator of the cathedral not to hire the halls out anymore until further notice, so that we can look into it, because even though it doesn't, in terms of management, it does not fall under the chancery, it falls under the parish, but it is our property as a diocese, the property of the diocese, and if there are complaints, we can't ignore them. So we've asked that it no longer be hired out to the public.
Okay, so I was late.
You were late?
My question.
No, it's not late, because it's still an issue that it has to be resolved.
Okay. Actually, Your Eminence, the real question about that management is they charge the public fees that is not reported back to the church.
Oh, I see.
Under the cover.
That's the real issue there.
Okay,
So people are making ends meet from what belongs to the church.
I see. Okay, we will stop that. We will stop that. Oh, sorry, before you are this end was up, please.
Okay, welcome to our parish.
Thank you.
The first comment is about the one that was raised about baptism of children. And that when Father says it's the approach that the church can use.
that eventually when you commented that it leads to people converting the church. So that applied to me. My children went to Catholic schools, and I was a Christian but not a Catholic. But because they were baptized at school, and I decided to follow them, then I became a Catholic. So in that way it worked. Number two, I just want to ask you how we can promote racial harmony within the Catholic Church. And I'm a teacher. I work at a Catholic school and an independent school in Sentin. So yeah, I notice in both environments that there's no racial harmony. So I don't know how the church, because I mean we are Catholics, we are Christians. So of course we must live the word, you know. But when it comes to racial tensions and the way you look at each other and start hating and not liking because a person is different from you, I think that is not godly. So I don't know how we can then promote racial harmony within the Catholic Church and also in the Catholic schools, especially the independent schools where others are minority and the other group is in the majority.
Can I just jump in? I just jump on the parish. I've been thinking about this because Bishop mentioned it, and I can't just get up here and start talking about racial harmony and do a lot of good in 3, 4, 5 minutes. But I'm thinking we have the Renew groups, basic Christian communities in all the sectors. Perfect time to take just, to push the Renew this week aside and just deal with how do we promote more racial harmony? Because I think to some extent we have made a lot of progress in racial harmony in our parish. I've been pushing since I come that we're one family. Get to know this. I'm always introducing people back and forth. So we are colored, we are white, we are brown, we are black, and some people don't even know what color we are because we're mixed. But I'm just saying that the Renew would be a wonderful situation where you have 12 people for 90 minutes to talk, and another group over here 12. We are the largest in the deanery for Renew, with all of our groups. But I think we still need a little assistance because how do we want to lead? I think some people are coming. Isn't there someone coming to talk about this? That we could get a little program for the Renew leaders to try to ask these questions, etc. But I think in the Renew it's a perfect way, those small groups, because as a big group, it's kind of hard. I can see for the parish. I don't know about the schools, etc.
Is it on this question? Is it on this question?
Yes.
Okay, or on this question only. Please.
My suggestion is it starts in the family. That's where we teach our children.
Yes.
Your Grace, catechesis is what I'm concerned about in our community. What is the acceptance attendance for confirmation? Because this is where a great dispute is all about.
Okay, I'll come to that. Let me address the issue of racism first. The Bishops' Conference have requested all the dioceses to, at parish level, organize workshops on racism. They have provided us with a questionnaire, which we have sent to all the parishes, so that we will follow that up through our Justice and Peace Department. We'll try and follow that up because we have to answer that questionnaire so that the Bishops' Conference can compile a report. So we have an obligation to do that, to discuss at parish level issues of racism, and they've given us some 6 or 7 questions to look at. We can choose 1 or 2. That's the first thing. The second thing is, yes, the question of racism is going to be with us for quite some time. Within the Catholic Church, I can tell you, for example, in the parish level, in Vereeniging, the church in town, in Brakpan, the church in town, in Vereeniging, Brakpan, in Springs, the church in town, And somebody was telling me about Krugersdorp that I didn't know. Now, 15 years ago, on Sunday, majority of the people, they were white. What has happened over the years with black people moving into town and then going to church? That has driven the white parishioners out of their own parish. And so in Vereeniging, they go to Mass on Saturday evening, the white Catholics, they go to 3 Rivers. It's a suburb in Vereeniging. On Sunday Mass, black faces, you probably have just 5 or 6 white faces of people who are still there. So that has been the change over the years. It's the same thing in Springs. Springs, 12 years ago, was a completely white parish. They have moved out. They attend Mass on Saturday evening in an outside church called St. Catherine. They have left their own church to the black faces that have come into town. And the same in, I said, Springs, the same in Brakpan. The evening Mass on Saturday is for the white community, the Sunday Mass is for the black community. The same in Roodepoort Parish, the white, mainly Portuguese, they attend Mass on Saturday evening, and then on Sunday evening you have majority Africans and a few sprinkling of other racial groups. So that's the trend. That's the trend. People separate themselves. And unfortunately we can't come back, this is your church. They've abandoned their own church. But I guess we could say the same about the cathedral. You can say the same about your village. I'm talking 15 years, 14 years. That's when I came here as a bishop. And I know because I used to visit this, I go to all these parishes for confirmation, so I can see this happen over the years. The cathedral was completely white. There are only 2 white people at the cathedral. The lady who helps at the altar and another lady who drags her feet because she can't go very far. And then Yorkville has just turned native, just gone black. And so that's the trend, But I think in Johannesburg is because most of the white people look at Jules Street. I remember Jules Street being, because they sell cars there, if you know Jules Street. Yes. It has always been, it was a white business area. Jules Street has gone black. All that town from Joubert Park right up to across town, Bays Valley, Joubert Street, Malvern, all those places are going black. And most of the people who used to live there, I see them in Ramsey. So I said, build a church in Ramsey. Don't stop going to North Riding, build your own church in they are all from Joubert Park, Malvern, all this place. So even La Rochelle, where's La Rochelle? Yeah. La Rochelle should be here. All the people who have moved, So people have a right to move. When debt and crime follows them, they have to move, to run away. That we have to accept as a fact. You look at the buildings that are now occupied by Africans, where they are falling apart. You can see the center of Johannesburg, how it looks like, let alone the areas around Johannesburg. Where people from the rural areas, you have people from other countries who are occupying these spaces. And this has clearly driven the former forefathers out of their city. That I don't know how we solve. Government has tried. For example, they have projects like Cosmos City to try and have an integrated development of the neighborhood. You have your three-tier building, like your RDPs, then your subsidized houses, then your people who can manage them. They have all those 3 categories provided for. That's the plan of government, to try and break down racism. Schools, Inanda, Bedford View, Holy Rosary in Eden Bay. What other schools? The fees they charge. There's 1,400. He knows better. How many students do we have? 1,003, 1,004?
1,004 in the entire college.
1,004. How many blacks do you have? Before I make guesses in your presence.
Okay, just thinking in terms of the classes that I have, matric level, I've got 3 classes. There's about 18 kids in the class, about 3.
3 in the class.
Yeah.
The college is better because of the bursary.
Cynthia and I are at the same school.
Oh, okay.
So the college is better because in the college we've got bursary scheme. So we bring disadvantaged communities to bursary. But the prep where I'm in the college, I'm in the prep. So there's no bursary in prep. So then you walk into the classroom, then you
but even where there are bursaries, I mean, there are 1,400 students there, but how many are on bursaries? I mean, how many black faces do you see there? I never see many. And it's the same for Bedford View, it's the same for Holy Rosary. And the fees, I mean, I was told someone, what is the fee in your school? What do we pay in our school?
For the matrics, for the year, it's 120,000.
I mean, you still pay 60,000 at university. 60,000. Here they are at high school paying 100,000. So the fees exclude black people. They exclude black people. And I'm not sure whether that's the reason for excluding blacks or whether they, in order to attract good teachers. I don't know. But just the fee structure makes it impossible for an average black family to, you have to be getting a good income to go to those schools. So they will remain discriminatory, intentionally or unintentionally. So the question of racism, I don't know. My view is that we're dealing with the legacy of apartheid. And when you look at the number of unemployed people, when you look at the economic gap between white and black, and when you look at the informal settlements, when you look at the service protests where people burn everything they come across when they're angry, I think we're still a little far from building your home here. We're still a little bit far.
I can also just say something quickly. I came to Africa to work with blacks. So I lived in a village. I was the only white person in the village in Liberia. I wanted to learn the language. It's called Dan. I did learn it. And said, master the language. Then I lived in a major town. We were about 10 whites out of about 18,000. In Nigeria, we were about maybe 12 whites out of 800,000. So I've always worked in that kind of, so when they sent me to South Africa, why am I going to South Africa? Electricity, good roads, everything. But then I saw this business of not, I said, no, maybe they're sending me because I never had a problem with where you are, what your color is, whatever, let's all work together. And I'm very happy here in this parish, although I'll be even happy if they send me to Ennerdale, which they might in a year or two, or Lesotho, I'll be happy too, to learn the language there. But because I've done now 5.5 years, it's almost time. What I'm happy about here, Bishop, is that we have a healthy number from every group. We have people from Lesotho here. We have people from, right here. Although she's always proud of being from Lesotho, and others. We have people from Nigeria. We have people from different countries, Malawi, etc. We have our white community. It's much smaller, but I'm happy they're still here. They didn't run away. We have the colored community. So we have the Indian community. We have the real Indians. And then we have the Durbanites. But what I'm always happy, I always make that distinction. But what I'm happy is that it's just a wonderful mix. If they would have sent me to Marian College now, it's much more white. You know, if they send you to Lifa and Frida, it's much more white, etc. And in La Rochelle, they've lost so many of their white. They went now to Lifa and Frida and to Marian. So we still have a healthy number from every group. That's special about this parish.
Perhaps one last sentence on this racism issue. I don't think we necessarily need to be economically advanced or a little wealthy to be able to speak to the other wealthy group. I don't think I don't think that should be the criterion. I think the criterion should be to be able to look beyond that and accept people's situations.
Yeah, just the attitudes.
Yes, yes. I think we can live happily together by simply accepting each other as we are. You know.
That's the point I was making.
Okay.
Yeah, on the attitudes more than on the affluence and affordability, but just the attitudes of how we relate to one another.
Yeah. I think the case of Vicky Momberg, for example, it's a case of a legacy from the apartheid days, which you really don't expect from somebody like that. You would have thought that they would be more accepting, more tolerant, and obviously condemning things that are bad. I mean, if somebody has broken into a car, that's to be condemned. But not the way she reacted was as if we're in the apartheid days, where you can say anything about anybody. So I think we're still very much caught up with our own past. And I'm saying that the next generation will be more tolerant than we are. Oh, catechism, the age of admission, the age of...
No, the attendance.
Attendance.
Yes.
What percentage?
We got a directive from the cathedral.
Yes.
80% attendance for confirmation. But the biggest problem we have...
I don't understand 80%.
You need to be in attendance to class on a Saturday. But the biggest problem we have, we abide by the rules laid down by the cathedral. The only thing is, when we tell the parents, they say, now we go down the road, the bishop will confirm. And that is true. We abide.
But the bishop doesn't know that.
No. We hand in register, car, and everything. We don't play by the same rules. There's no conformity. There is no conformity. And people have a problem with race. We have we've done the incarceration. Our parish doesn't have that problem. The problem is the older people, not the young ones. The young ones, they meet at the Clare, South, all the more they meet and they enjoy themselves. The biggest problem I have is against this. My grandson attends another parish. They don't teach what Sister Patricia has presented to us. They do their own thing. And we work with books. There's no uniformity. We've been working here with open families, books, all the way. Everybody just do as they please. Please, Your Grace, hand down information to the coordinator and not the priest, because it does not filter down. It remains on his email or whatever. It has to filter down to the coordinator so that we get first-hand information. We attend all the workshops cathedral organizers. But then we find there are teachers that have never even been on a course. And we have done 2-3-year courses. And none of these guys don't know, even the teachers don't know the Catholic prayers.
Don't know the Catholic?
Catholic prayers. And it is so important. We are catechizing, and the guys don't know. That is why so many young people, after confirmation, retire. And they go to other churches. Go to other churches. I don't know why. Because really wanted the kids confirm. And I don't want to confirm anybody whom the grandmother wants. Confirmation is a choice of the young candidate. And we are still living in the past. In my house, you obey my rules. It's going to be a relationship with Christ. That is what a lot of old Catholics don't realize. we still go and think back. Because this young man asked me, what is happening with the young people in our community?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't always attend. Every year, the catechist comes together for their day workshop. I don't always get the invitation on time, but I will go this year. And I will ask you to speak the way you've just spoken.
I've done it a couple of times already.
Well, I will hear it, they will hear it. We will be there together. It will make a difference. And then I can answer or ask questions or whatever. So I will have to ask the coordinator to accommodate us.
Right. And something else that's important. You know, we come from parishes that vibrant in comfort zone in the townships. We come here and we want to do likewise. You cannot attend mass here and want to be busy in the township and not partake where you are. I came from Annulments. I burned that bridge because this is where I live. This is where I go home myself. This is the parish. Here is my home. And that is why I'm involved in this parish. When I moved out of Eldos, I moved to Annulments. I burned that bridge because I belong to Annulments. This is where people have got to realize, don't remain in comfort zone. Who are those smartest priests? I don't like this priest. You want to go to hell. If other police will get us alive, you know. This is where you live. This is where you got to commit yourself. And that is why you got to actually also pass on your parish.
Now that one would have to handle with your parish priest. I'm not going into that.
No. People are uncomfortable with enculturation. Commit yourself to your community where you live.
My question actually was, what are we doing about the young people that are after confirmation leaving the church? In droves, they're going to other Pentecostal, charismatic churches. What is the church?
You know, I don't believe that.
No, we see church.
I don't believe that. And I do confirmations and I've been doing them for the last 15 years. I don't believe that. I find that I do accept that some do leave the church. I accept it, but on the whole, I find that very difficult. And I will tell you why. I ask young people to write me letters. And they must be lying to me. Well, then I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble because
my point is that the church has so many, like we have Alpha, we have charismatic people. Why are we not promoting those type of?
No, it means they did not have a good foundation in their catechesis formation. They didn't have a good foundation. And my query has been, for example, if somebody truly has come to believe in the Eucharist, I always say example of the Eucharist. If you've come to believe that you are receiving Christ, if you've come to believe that, you cannot, for the life of it, go away from it. You can't. But if you've never believed in it, if it was just an idea, my argument has been because we're Protestant, half of the Catholics are Protestants. Dual membership. We think and are influenced by the Protestant thinking around us. Now for Protestants, the Eucharist is just a symbol, it's just a remembrance from the past, what Christ did at the Last Supper. It's not the living bread, it's not Christ himself. And you see this when people come to the church, they don't genuflect, they don't even bow, then you realize there's something wrong there. You can't go into somebody's house and not greet the owner of the house, or just ignore, just go straight to the kitchen. You don't do that. So that reveals the attitude of people and their learning. So I would say the catechesis was not good enough. And they are not grounded in their catechesis. And that's why they can go to any church and just feel it's okay. Need is an ongoing formation, a post-confirmation program of sorts. Now, if we don't have that, this is where then we come to all these other activities in the church, like Renew, like Alpha, as also as channels of keeping them in the church where they will continue to get their religious formation. And yeah, so I thought they stay, but if you say they don't stay, now I'm going to reject the letters. now I'm going to say, I'm told that you are lying to me. When am I coming here? They are not here. I will repeat this when I come here. This is what I was told in this very church, that these letters you are giving me, they are lies. Now there might be one or two or three who is speaking the truth, but apparently the majority of you won't even stay in church. That's what I will say to the candidates.
Because it's very important, but we are now condemning the candidates. The most important thing are the parents. They want their kids confirmed, but they do not take the kids because our kids don't live around the corner here. They need transport. And how committed are the parents to their children? Only when there's a problem do they come to the church and present, okay, what happened? They say, oh, yeah, you bought a book for 68 weeks. 60 and I've got a couple of parents in my India now. They paid 60 for a book. But none of the parents have sat down with the kids and go through it. They've got to do it as a family. We practice catechesis.
You might be expecting a little bit too much.
You must understand. I've been doing it.
I know you have that passion, but you don't expect.
You know, Father Suta told me years ago.
You see, that's your problem. That's what your problem is.
No, either a Catholic or you're a Protestant. Now, it's very important to me. When I come from communion, there is the body of Christ. Some people come like this.
But that's your problem. You expect everybody to live up to your standard.
I want commitment, like my marriage.
Your standard is a little bit high. Take it I'm 100% or
Thank you. Welcome to our parish. I know you had a whole lot of welcomes. And mine is a comment and a question, but very simple. Funny enough, I'm not trying to dig up bodies because you closed the question around racism much earlier when you gave the response. However, it was quite interesting for me to share my comment because I'm involved with the Renew on Air program. And this morning we were talking exactly about what came up in this session. Now, the issue around how parishes, with the influx, with the removal or the abolishment of influx control, where you find people from different spaces than where you were brought up coming into your church. Now, that issue, where it touches the church most, is where there's now the expectation of sharing of Mass, where the African or mostly African oriented communities have come to bring the vibrance of relations in church when celebrating Mass. Even the proclaimers are non-European, but they're reading from an English Bible. There's issues around language. Now, the question that was raised was, how do we as parishes or parishioners or small Christian communities accept each other in those spaces rather than having separate masses for everybody? This is where I'm going to comment Father John. He has really done a thing for us where even with the breaking up, sort of apparent breaking up of the community within the Robertsham Catholic Church, he's managed to keep it together, where people, even you don't necessarily have to wait for the 12 o'clock mass, where mostly Africans would go. Even the flavor of the African mass comes into the 8 o'clock, the 10 o'clock mass, and all that. That's where I would like to thank Father John for that. However, from your perspective, Your Grace, what is let me say, the Johannesburg Diocese's opinion of having Mass accommodate all of these differences that we see in trying to make the church vibrant, where people are able to ululate if they want to, without necessarily having complaints coming to you about the breaking down of the reverence of the Mass. So that's a question that I'd lay to you in a comment. And secondly, what is your view of the renewal impact within the Johannesburg perspective, let me say so, the renewal of faith, etc.
In Inner Day, you have a colored community. When we have confirmations, they have people from Raleigh coming into Inner Day. I've never really liked it because I then saw that the local colored community who normally sing in English, then they have to sit and listen to this foreign choir. You know, and I've always said to the former parish priest, so why do you do this? Why do you make the owners of the place feel foreign in their own church? So in that sense, I'm very conservative and sensitive culturally. It's a good thing on occasion like that to bring people together, but I think you have to work them. You just can't allow it to happen. You've got to say, okay, just in terms of the liturgy, let some half of the hymns be in English, half of the hymns be in vernacular. That's what I try and say when we have a cathedral on Holy Thursday. I try and say, look, if you're only going to sing Sotho or Zulu, don't come as a choir. As a matter of policy, it should be half-half. I don't want those who speak English to feel that this is a foreign country. You know, well, in fact, it's their own country. I think people will tolerate you if you accommodate them. So that's at the policy level. I have also seen, I will talk about Inner Day, Lenesia do the same thing. That's an Indian community. They bring people from the informal settlement for confirmations. And do they ride on this thing? They take it off. They really enjoy themselves. But then the locals don't. The local, and yet they have the local people have a very good choir. But then their road is taken over by this. So I don't think it's well managed, in my view. I don't think it's well managed. That would create conflict and negative attitude. So that has to be managed. I think if it's well, if we are conscious that we're dealing with different groups, different cultural things, different languages, and we work at it to make sure that there's a kind of a balance. I don't think we can get a complete. Our masses would normally be in English to start off with. The entire Eucharistic prayer would be in English. The homilies, I deliberately make homilies in English myself, for example. I seldom, even when I'm in a township, at times I do speak Zulu or Sotho, but I seldom do that. Especially when you have mixed groups. I don't want to do two languages because I get lost in two languages, or your mass becomes much longer. So you've got to make a decision about some of these things, about practical decisions. I think where priests in a parish are sensitive to that, you can avoid the conflict. That they can find out, because people see that we're different groups, so not one group should dominate. You should be able to accommodate most of the groups if you can. as a matter of policy, because we are a multicultural community. The renewal on air, I think, is good. People like that. That's the kind of feedback I get, and it's important to do. We can never teach and complete whatever we're trying to teach. It has to be on an ongoing basis. Today is group A, today somebody does it, the other day. So if we continue doing it, we will probably even catch the person who was not aware of what's happening. And I think it's a good tool to contribute to the spiritual formation of people. And simply, frankly, just adding to the knowledge of faith. I have always complained about some people, I don't know how far true this is, some people tell us that, Nigerians, for example, know their faith better than locals. Some. That they know their faith content better than locals. I have no idea. I'm not very sure how to measure that. But it makes you sit up when you hear comments like that. Talking about young people who leave the church after confirmation. That's the last time they actually get a formal teaching about their faith. That's for most of them. For most of our adults, therefore, their formal education about their faith ended at confirmation. And there has been no ongoing adult formation, and yet there is so much. And that is why in doing confirmations, I try to impose on the candidates to read encyclical letters of the Pope. And I ask questions about that, because it's a faith content issue usually what the Pope writes. And they can read those things. In fact, I was amazed. Some of these youngsters, they read those things and actually can tell you the content. So it means we're simply depriving them of the opportunity to do that. So indirectly, we force them to read this. I've also said to the chaplains of the Sodalities and Secretariat, all this, I've said to them, you need to show us a program for the year. What faith content do you give to these people? So that it's not just a prayer session, the rosary, but there must be something about faith that will challenge them to think about their faith-related issues and discuss about those as part of their own spiritual growth. So yes, I think the feedback has been good in terms of people hearing what they don't always get from the pulpit. Generally, the pulpit is the only teacher you have, unless you attend Renew or Alpha or any other. You start with the pulpit, and the pulpit is only 5-6 minutes. So that's not enough formation. Are you taking 5 minutes or 10? 10, 11. That's still not enough. That's still not enough. That's all digested. So yeah, I think we need to be creating. In other places they have once a week a discussion on a specific topic every week. In other places they have it once a month, and people participate in those sessions and they contribute to one's faith, to one's knowledge of
Well, Renew does that. You have huge groups of Renew.
That's precisely the aim of that, to renew people's faith.
So we're coming to the end, really. Just one more. One last one.
Oh, yes.
I think I'm a real Indian.
Your best.
Father's been speaking about Renew, and so we have a few other people. I was part of a group or a team that brought Alpha, the Alpha program to Robertsham Parish, and we saw the benefits. And my question to you is, would you endorse this program in the diocese?
Alpha? We have done that years ago.
Because I think some of the priests, not here particularly, but other parishes are not aware of it.
We have, I can remember when some of the priests objecting to this. There was a workshop in what's the church in 4 ways? Bryanston. We had a workshop there in Bryanston, and one priest stood up and says, there's nothing Catholic about Alpha. And he was giving examples such as your prayers, you don't even accommodate the Eucharist in your weekends come together. You just go on with your praise and worship. And he was basically saying, if we're going to, well, he wasn't saying this, but I think it's something like, if you're going to have Alpha for Catholics, try and have a Catholic Alpha, so that Catholics don't feel that they're in a Protestant church. Use the Alpha methods, etc. But let Catholics feel that they're still Catholics when they are at an Alpha weekend. And I thought that was a reasonable request. That in some places, certainly in England, they try and promote Catholic Alpha. And that's the way forward if you're going to win your priests. They've got to see something they are familiar with. But so too your Catholics. They have to see something familiar. Otherwise they feel that they are estranged from what we are trying to achieve. And therefore this is basically a Protestant event. So I think we can put people's minds at ease by certainly there's no reason why during your praise and worship there's no reason why you can't have them separate. And have something Catholic and the other ones can have. And then when you have your discussions, you all come together. So you can actually accommodate it quite comfortably, I think. I've been to Alpha sessions and I've also felt that way. That we can improve. They are not Catholic, so they will not see what we feel. But we can actually suggest to the program makers, you can do the 1, 2, 3, and Catholics will feel much happier.
It's the same. I think we can't go on because really we have an evening mass tonight, and we have tea outside. A lot of these groups, Virgin, not just Alpha, but even charismatic prayer. There are some priests who don't want that at all. There are other priests who don't want Sacred Heart in their group. The other priests don't want CWM. Other priests do not want St. Anne. We started those here. We never had them. We've been here 50 years. There never was a St. Anne. Never was a CWM. So I mean, some priests are open, but basically open to those things. But like he says, if it's charismatic prayer, let it be Catholic charismatic prayer. So occasionally we have Eucharist. Because I was in one place in Liberia, they didn't want to have Eucharist because there was too many Protestants in the Catholic charismatic prayer group. So it needs to be Catholic. There needs to be a little bit of control. Anyway, there's many more questions they can ask you.
It's the last one.
Okay, the very last. Do we have to go on? Start the next mass.
Thank you, Father, and your grace. You mentioned earlier on pilgrimages, places like Lourdes or Fatima or Medjugorje. But Medjugorje is a controversial site. It's not really recognized by Rome. And what's the view of the Johannesburg Archdiocese on pilgrimages to Medjugorje? Because I see it well advertised in the Southern Cross, etc. And some priests go there, spiritual directors, etc., to that site.
Can I ask a question? What's controversial about Medjugorje?
Well,
I don't know what's controversial about it. I do know that it's not recognized.
It's not recognized, and I think they've stopped, the last I've known is they've stopped the Americans from promoting Medjugorje, the USA.
The local bishop was not in favor of it. The local bishop.
More accepting, more tolerant, and obviously condemning things that are bad. I mean, if somebody has broken into a car, that's to be condemned. Recognized by Rome, but I can tell you people from all over the world go there. Go there. So it's not always, a place is not holy because Rome declares it holy. Rome is usually the last person. Everybody sanctifies that place by their pilgrimages until Rome recognizes the popular devotion and then recognizes the place. I'm starting to get to give you a concrete example where Rome comes in last. Fatima is a classical example. You can't remember when it was first recognized, the apparitions in Fatima, but for a long time, people went there. They converted the Catholic Church to the apparitions of Mary in Fatima, until Pope John Paul II went there, and that's when it got an official stamp. So ordinary people in their belief, they've come to convert the official church, so that the official church recognizes the popular devotions of ordinary people. Who knows? It might be the case with Medjugorje, recognized by
How are you? 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 How are How are you?